All righty, looks like we are live. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. Welcome in, Cindy. Can't get situated. What's up, Fishy? If anybody wants to call in, bam, there you go. Jari, what's going on? Yep, 9:30 here. Jari says 11:30. The heathen honey badger. Greetings. What is that in your photo? Is that a telescope? A Canon? What are we looking at there? 50 cal, old school machine gun. What are we looking at? Fire hose. What's going on, GP? So today we will be diving in. Well, tonight we will be diving into Abby and Libby's case. A lot of respected people, YouTubers, law enforcement, retired law enforcement, they seem to, when it comes to the Delphi case, they seem to say, hey, we got it all figured out. You know, it's cut and dry. Richard Allen's an opportunistic lone wolf, just happened to cross paths with the girls, and then that's what happened. What do you guys think? I just find it hard to believe. And it's not that I can't grasp something so simple. You know, I'm not delusional. I'm not looking for some sophisticated, ritualistic crime scene. I'm just saying, look at the evidence. That's not what it tells us. What's up, Courtney? Long time no see. Richard Allen is a lone wolf. What's going on, Cheeks? Saw the live. Just wanted to hop in and say, hope everyone has a great night. I'm exhausted. Gonna go to bed. Good night to you. Thanks for the comment. I appreciate that. Always good to see you. I agree, GP. It is debatable. Richard Allen seemed like he was meeting somebody out there. The girls looked like they were out there taking photos and video for somebody, possibly Anthony Shots, right? How do we know that Richard Allen doesn't have control over the Anthony Shots account or working with them. I mean, how do we know that? You could say, well, there was no CSAM or anything like that found on his computers. So what? Why would there be? If he's smart enough, he would just have a separate device somewhere that wouldn't do anything at home. Maybe while he was working at CVS in the back office or in the parking lot, connecting to public Wi Fi. GP says, still feel that Richard Allen KK was more than friends. Well, one thing you need to remember is that Richard Allen worked in Peru just a few blocks away from the Klein home. And we're talking all the way until just a few weeks up until the murders. And if they're pre-planning this, maybe that's why he decided to change. Maybe he was having issues. Or he moved to Delphi so once they committed the murders together, they wouldn't try to associate him with the clients. So in July, you have KK and TK purchasing plane tickets to Las Vegas. Later that same month, they create the Anthony Shots account. Remember when we called TK's phone and it said 10 years in Alaska? Remember, Anthony Shots, the profile, was a guy that spent some time in Indiana and some time in Alaska. Traveled a lot for business, young, 19, successful. What's up, Charlotte? Shout out to the UK. Michelle, good to see you. So you have Richard Allen working 2 blocks, really just around the corner from the Klein home, within walking distance. I mean, they had to shop there, right? They had to shop at the CVS. There's not a whole lot of other places to shop there. We could use some rain. Me too, Jari. It's very dry here. Extremely dry. Charlotte says, I stand by Rick is innocent. Well, you've said that more times than he has at this point, just here in the chat. Let's see. Let's watch my timeline video. It's a little boring, but if I can remember what I did with it. GP says, well, my biggest problem is both Richard Allen and KK didn't have their phones anymore while being interrogated and searched. Still, both their phones were missing. Well, there was two burner phones that they still haven't located. You can hear them continuously asking Kagan Klein during his original transcripts. Once they arrested him in 2019, yeah, they asked continuously about these two, these two cell phones. Where are those? You know, they wouldn't be asking him where are those if they've already collected them. That doesn't make any sense. It will come out that Brad Holder, Logan Holder, and Ron Logan are responsible. Well, how do you reconcile Brad Holder's alibi? I mean, he has an alibi. Logan Holder has an alibi too. He was in school. And they already tried to get Ron Logan. And I still haven't seen a connection between Brad Holder, Logan Holder, and Ron Logan. So if you know something that I don't, what's up, Robert? Welcome in. Welcome in. All right, we're all caught up on the chat. Let's watch this quick little video that I put together. This is just really the timeline, according to the witnesses, that pretty much, I mean, to me, it proves that Richard Allen is the bridge guy. So let's take a look. Wait, there's no audio track on this. Hold on. I take that back. I'll just pull it up on YouTube. Charlotte says the young sketch is Logan Holder. Absolutely, it can't be. He absolutely 100% was in class. Got a fly in here. Michelle says the Allen is innocent crowd is suffering an epidemic of wishful thinking. I think it's more like misinformation or something. All right, here we go. We'll plop this up on the screen. So I just pulled it up from my YouTube channel. And there it is. Our witness timeline begins at 12:43 p.m. We will not include Sarah Carbaugh's testimony. From 12:43 p.m. to 1 p.m., 3 young witnesses were spending time near High Bridge, as confirmed by timestamps presented in court. After approximately 15 minutes, the girls began heading back home to meet their 2 p.m. curfew, as they lived just beyond Freedom Bridge. As the girls approached a bend in the trail, Betsy Blair was exiting via the Mears parking lot due to an urgent bathroom situation. CCTV footage and Fitbit timestamps corroborate Blair leaving the trail and driving a short distance to the Delphi Public Library. According to Google Maps, it's a 4-minute trip. Upset stomach could explain Betsy's multiple trips that day. We've all been there. As she was leaving to use the restroom, Rick Allen was entering via back roads. At approximately 1:26 p.m., the 3 young witnesses stopped at a bench near the Freedom Bridge trailhead to take photos. Timestamps were provided during the trial to corroborate this. 1 minute later, at 1:27 p.m., CCTV footage captured Richard Allen's 2016 black Ford Focus hatchback heading toward the old CPS building, located near the trailhead. Allen has confirmed he entered via the trailhead, not the Mears lot. Richard Allen's own statements, presented here, confirm this.
Walking down the trail, and I had told him that when I was approaching the trailhead, I guess is what I'd call it, there was three girls walking off the trail, and I just remember it looking like one of them was probably watching, not babysitting, but watching the other two because they looked a little younger, and they looked very similar. I don't know if they were sisters or whatever, but the other one didn't necessarily. But I remember seeing them.
Rick describes these three young witnesses in great detail. Watch as he admits to everything but the murders.
Usually we when we go, we walk down to High Bridge and walk back and walk down the other side and come back. I mean, it wasn't a ritual, but I remember walking down to the bridge.
His version of events matches perfectly with the killer's timeline. As Betsy Blair returns, she goes under an overpass and can see the three young witnesses above. Betsy Blair is seen on security footage returning to the Mears parking lot at 1:46 p.m. to finish her walk. As Betsy is exiting her vehicle, Kelsey is coming around the corner with Abby and Libby. Kelsey is quoted by a local reporter. "I remember seeing a dark SUV, its rear windshield covered in decals, parked near the entrance where I dropped off the girls. I didn't pay attention to whether any people were around. Something I regret daily." Kelsey can be seen leaving the area at 1:49 on CCTV footage. Betsy Blair, with the 3-minute head start on Abby and Libby, heads to High Bridge, where the bridge guy is standing on the first platform.
Walked down to High Bridge. Always went out just a little ways, not all the way. Went out a little ways and watched the fish.
Betsy has just a passing glance of the bridge guy before heading back to her vehicle.
I walked down, like I said, I looked at the water, I walked back, and I said, I mean, somebody could have walked behind me, I guess, but I said on that.
I believe Rick followed Betsy. Betsy Blair testified to passing Abby and Libby on her way back to her vehicle. If Rick was following Betsy, he would have passed Abby and Libby shortly after and decided to stalk them instead. At 2:05 p.m., Libby posted this photo to Snapchat. At 2:07 p.m., she uploaded this photo to Snapchat. At 2:13 p.m., she takes this chilling video. What Richard Allen didn't realize is, while he is forcing Abby and Libby down the hill and over the private drive, the property owner was only 15 minutes from disturbing his plans. Local resident Brad Weber caught on his neighbor's security camera coming home around 2:30 p.m. Rick told his prison psychologist, Dr. Monica Walla, he was startled by a white van. This is what gave Abby and Libby the chance to make it across the creek. Unfortunately, Rick would catch up to the girls on the other side. All right, what do you guys think about that timeline? Let me shut this down. Charlotte says the car on camera at 2ish, a long private drive. Then it drove back 5 minutes later. This has been left out. Why do you think it should have been let in? What do you think's so important about that car? What do you know about that car? Other than that it's a car that goes back there for 5 minutes and then turns around. How do you know it's not the mailman? How do you know it's not a pizza delivery man? How do you know it's not Amazon? How do you know it's not a soccer buddy dropping off a teammate? Somebody who's carpooling. Christy L. Rose Adams, why are we still on this case? I don't know. Why are you still on the case? You tell us. Here's a good reason we're still on the case. Charlotte believes the car on the camera at 2ish that was captured on a neighbor's security camera that points towards the gate, the entrance to the private drive. It captured a vehicle driving in. What was it at 2:08 or something like that? Driving in, 5 minutes later, drives out. That's it. Could it be something? Yes. Is it? I don't know. I don't know anything about that car. For all I know, it's the box-shaped car that Betsy Blair had pointed out. You know, something that the clients picked up from the Trexler home. Charlotte says, Michelle, read the Frank's memo. Wow. Now I get it. There is no way that Rick, a 5'4", managed to catch up to Abby that quick. From 207, 213 was behind Abby in the photo. The BG came up behind the girls, walked on the bridge, turned around behind. So let me get this right. How do you think Rick, who is 5'4", he might even be shorter than that, around 5'4", in that area. How do you think he made it through boot camp? He had to do a lot more than that. But you seem to think he's some kind of like dwarf or garden gnome or something. I mean, we're talking about somebody who played tackle football in school. I just don't understand why people try to make that argument. There is no way that Rick, 5'4", 5'5", managed to catch up to Abby that quick. How do you know? How do you know how agile and how quick Richard Allen is? Why would you assume that? Like you're using that as reasoning to support a convicted child killer? That's interesting. Yeah, he fooled you. Definitely fooled you. Fooled a lot of people. What's up, Goat Dog? No way that's some innocent person. Little old Rick, right? That's how he fooled Dan Doolin. He played that role of the usual suspects. Here, I'll put that up. I'm just waiting for this commercial to pass through. Robert says there are a lot of unanswered questions. Stay on the case. Absolutely, Robert. I'm not here to live up to Christie's expectations, and neither is she here to live up to mine. It's all good. All right, let's put this up on the screen. You guys ever seen this movie, Usual Suspects? So the entire time, this guy's kind of fooled the investigative team by just being this compartmentalized psychopath and playing this pathetic character, right? He's got a little limp. No way he's some kingpin. This is him leaving, I believe, after fooling them all.
I know you know something. I know you're not telling me. Say something. I'm smarter than you, and I'm going to find out what I want to know, whether you like it or not.
To a cop, the explanation is never that.
You know what I'm getting at, Verbal, the truth. Come on, Verbal.
No
Who do you think you're
street,
talking?
no arch criminal boss at all.
Somebody with power.
Let's see. So then eventually he just kind of starts walking normal, right? Turns out he wasn't this short little pathetic idiot after all. He wasn't poor little Ricky. Yeah, that's a pretty good movie, though. Pretty good movie. Charlotte says, just look at him. Well, why don't we look at the actual area down there that you think is so hard to traverse? Let's take a look. That's it. That doesn't look too hard to me. The water was about at its deepest 3 feet. Right, we're talking about a military guy. Mr. I flop around like a fish. So yeah, it doesn't seem difficult at all. In all honesty. So I keep hearing people say Odinism. That's the answer. I'm su- I'm supporting Richard Allen because I believe Odinism. Okay. What's the nexus between the crime scene and Odinism? Well, the sticks in the tree. It's a blot. It's a bloat ritual. Doesn't even look like that at all, in my opinion. Not even close. You know, there's a reason that Richard Allen introduced this theory to his defense team. I'm not saying that Odinism wasn't, inside the discovery and inside the investigative documents. It was there, but there was all kinds of things. There was probably dozens of angles that you could have taken, right? The Ron Logan angle, Keegan Klein angle, even some angles that we don't even know about. Whatever was going on with the Maxwell bicycle bridge search warrant. I mean, I'm sure you can even spin it to Brad Weber. But for whatever reason, when people hear this theory about Odinism coming from these defense attorneys, they feel like it has some kind of weight to it. I don't know. Credence? Is that the right word? So I'm not saying that Odinism or Norse paganism was not within the discovery. What I'm saying is it was Richard Allen who brought it to his attorney's attention. They asked him, "What's bothering you, Rick?" He said, "Well, I'm being threatened. I'm being threatened by these Odinist guards. They tell me if I don't confess, they're going to kill my wife and my family." And they say, "What?" "Yeah, they're Odinists." And sure enough, they have Norse pagan tattoos, rune tattoos, and things like that. So yeah, it's obvious, that they practice Asatru or Norse paganism or whatever. But don't forget, Richard Allen knows that crime scene more than anybody. There's nobody that knows it better than him. He's also been following the case, and he knows very well that Brad Weber has this type of shit. Or not Brad Weber, Brad Holder, sorry. This type of shit all over his social media. He's also fully aware that Abby was dating Logan. That's why he introduced the Odinism theory to his defense team so that they could go down the very rabbit hole that we all went down in 2017. And that's even including Becky Patty. Like, these people were definitely looking at him. He's been cleared. There's a lot of weird shit. Yeah. The whole him being a Freemason, him being a consultant and meeting with a core investigative team. I think they were even investigating the Delphi murders. So what they testified to during a hearing was that, hey, he was a person of interest in the Delphi murders, but once he was cleared, we had discovered that he was potentially an expert when it came to Norse paganism. So therefore, we're going to hire him as a consultant, and we're going to question him about Asatru and things like that. And I think it was even in reference to the Delphi case. So that is pretty strange. Um, if he's working with them that closely, it does make you wonder if somehow. So you kind of go down that conspiracy rabbit hole. Because really, all he has is an alibi. If you break that alibi, shit, he's the prime suspect. But it's like no matter what, Richard Allen could still be involved any way you slice it. Charlotte says, I stand by there is no way this horrible crime was committed by the one person. With no previous, no DNA, it's just not possible. Well, Charlotte, either Abby and Libby were killed by a woman, or no matter who the killer is, they didn't leave their DNA. So it's not like Richard Allen didn't leave his DNA. The killer didn't, no matter who it is, they didn't leave their DNA. It doesn't exclude Richard Allen. I mean, the girls were obviously killed most likely by a male, right? That's Richard Allen. It's like Bullet Tooth Tony, story and Snatch. Yeah, good flick. All right, Pikey. You like Dags? Your little Mincy found some good, but the fact that you got replica guns, I got Desert Eagle 50 down mine means you need. Yeah, it's a good scene. Fishy, what's up? Is that a pic from the scene? No, this is a pic from Brad Holder's Facebook posted around 2016. Right? And this looks nothing like what was left at the crime scene. Not even close. This one kind of does. Now imagine Richard Allen, the killer of Abby and Libby, walking free in 2017, pulling up Brad Holder's Facebook. What do you think's going through the mind of Richard Allen, right? He's guilty. He knows exactly what the crime scene looks like. He starts to hear that people are accusing Brad Holder. He's like, what's going on with this Brad Holder guy? And then he sees this. Nobody knows what this means. He does. What's up, Corn Pop? That's interesting. 213. And that could equate to a bind rune. You know, it's all just kind of circumstantial, though. Now, let's say we saw these sticks like this, and Brad Holder was there that day. But the man has an alibi. How do you explain that? Plus, the sticks don't, it doesn't look like any of this. I don't know what this is. And there definitely isn't anything like this. at all. Do you have sticks that are crossing? Yeah. Like this? No. But man, if you're Richard Allen and you're looking at this and you're like, damn, wait till they find out that. It's not the same. If you say that it's the same, you're not being honest. There's nothing like this at the crime scene at all. Nothing like this. F symbol left on the tree. It's not an F. It's not an F. This one I kind of blurred it all out so you couldn't really see. Plus, I don't want to break YouTube terms of service. But yeah, this is all very interesting. And they even testified in court that this was like a mock ritual. Yeah, it sounds. But you have to put him there. If you could break Brad Holder's alibi, that doesn't exclude Richard Allen. But it would be interesting to put him there.
Everybody hail Thor! Up to you if you wish to hail him or not. It is not required. Everybody knows who Thor is, so yes, ma'am. Oh, you are on it. Yeah. Okay.
Little ritual they had. One of his paintings. It's interesting, Charlotte, how you like you'll kind of stretch your moral compass or your goalpost, so to speak, right? Towards your bias, but you won't do it to try to get out of your comfort zone. Like honestly, you don't think that if Richard, let's say Richard Allen was working with Kagan Klein or doing all this suspicious shit, maybe even looking at Brad Holder's Facebook, you don't think he could hide that? Apparently he was at the work. He was at his work, the dump. The landfill. All right, guys, this will be our 5-minute warning. If there's anything you want to add specifically to that timeline that I put together. If you're part of the replay crew, let me know if you think I missed anything. Yeah, that just looks like a handprint, bloody handprint. It could even be Richard Allen's. You know, wearing gloves, but it's most likely Libby's. Maybe a right hand or a left hand, just kind of looks like it's swiping down. This even looks like the shape of a finger. like a pinky. And then, of course, the middle of the hand is going to have the majority of the blood, and it's going to even drip down. That's what this looks like to me, like it kind of dripped. And the rest is just like a palm print. I don't see an F. Like it's not even connected right here. That's not an F. The upside down L is more accurate. But then you have to explain what's going on over here and what's going on right here. It's just not an F. Like the story sounds really, it sounds like the Lord of the Rings, right? That's what everybody was expecting. Something really dramatic and grandiose. So it's hard to accept that it's little old Ricky. Well, when little old Ricky's alone, I guarantee you he's not little old Ricky. See if I can find that video of him flopping like a fish. And this video is like 2 months, like a month and a half before he committed the murders. But yet he couldn't catch up to these little girls who were naked and carrying a wet pile of clothes, trying to pick up clothes as they're dropping it, sliding on the slippery rocks. And we're talking about a military man here who played football in high school. But Rick couldn't have caught up to those girls. There's no way. He just a little guy. Bear with me here. Of course, it's never where it's supposed to be, right? Well, it's so sad. Those markings on the tree show the last moments of a poor little girl who was trying to hold on for dear life. Alan is a monster. Yeah, he cut her throat, just like that poor Ukrainian woman who had her neck cut on the bus. You remember? Very similar. She died instantly. That's the first thing she did was just kind of feel it. But yeah, it's quick. You start to lose your balance because you're losing all your blood. So it makes sense that you're going to lean up against a tree, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting dizzy. And then stumble a few feet. I mean, that's exactly what happened at the crime scene. That's how they explained it during the trial. And where did I put this damn video? Oh, there it is. Let's watch this.
Dance, baby.
So you telling me you can't see this fucking guy flopping like that across that creek? This is a month and like a week before the murder.
Dance, baby!
You don't see him flipping and flopping over that creek just like that? I do. Is that what you call it? Advocating? You guys still haven't showed me anything. You guys are advocating more than the man himself. Why? Shut up, Brick. You're innocent. You sound like his wife, Kathy, on those phone calls. I did it. Shut up, Rick. You're innocent. I'm advocating for you. Let me advocate. But I did it. I think I did. You're not letting me advocate. Flop, you little fish. Flop. He can't make it across the creek. He's just a little guy. GP. Yeah. Makes my stomach turn. And in the post, it says that they weren't drinking. They're obviously on something. Definitely giggly as hell. Yeah, we're still waiting for, you think if you're going to support a child killer, especially somebody who killed Abby and Libby, this high profile case that kind of shook up the world, you would have a good reason to do that. I still haven't heard a good reason. It just blows my mind. But that's what it is, right? That's what we're dealing with. Sweet home Alabama. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it. I probably should get back. But if you are part of the replay crew, let me know what you think about this witness timeline. I didn't include Betsy Blair because it really doesn't fit into the witness timeline, right? Even though she did say, hey, the guy that I saw was the bridge guy as well, it just doesn't fit into with what Richard Allen said. So I really wanted to match up what he was saying. He's basically admitting to everything. Even when he gives his timeline, like I think I was there a little after 12:30. At least I think I was. Like he never says, well, I'm for certain this is how I can prove it. He's like, I think at least that's what I thought. So even then he's not sure. So therefore, right, it could have been the 1:30, whether he's sure or not. But he sure as hell told Dan Doolin that the first time. And what have we learned about people that change their story? Only liars really do that. You can miss details here and there. Kind of like Kelsey, like early on they asked her, do you remember any vehicles? She's like, not really. And then later on, she's like, wait a minute. Now I do kind of vaguely remember an SUV with decals all over the back. Corn Pop, it still baffles me how someone with a family and no prior record does something like this. Yeah, it happens all the time. It's a recipe. So the interesting about what happened to Abby and Libby, the precursor was a series of stressors in Rick's life. His daughter moves out. So now the dynamic is just him and his wife. And then his brother-in-law dies, who his wife Kathy is extremely close with. So that hits her like a freight train. That's what I was told, that it affected her bad. And we learned through the process of this trial that Richard Allen had a dependent personality disorder, and that Kathy was his target. He was latched on to her. So if he's suffering from this personality disorder, and he's latched onto this person who has pushed him away, right? Well, who is she pushing him? Whose arms is she pushing him into? Could be somebody like the Kleins, but either way, he's going to begin. He's stressed out. These are all stressors for Rick, and he did just recently move. Why did he transfer jobs from the CVS in Peru to the one in Delphi? Was he having issues there? Was he having any type of conflicts? Was he preparing to commit a murder and didn't want to be associated with, the Kleins who just happened to be right around the corner? Thanks, Jari. Yeah, if you guys can't hit the Cash App, hit the like button. Charlotte, well, someone has to. Please don't take the piss out of me. It's my opinion. Yeah, you're entitled to it. Unfortunately, most opinions come with the side of criticism, or it reflects criticism. Did he kill somebody at the old store? Man, you know what's crazy? And I know people hate to compare Delphi to Evansdale, but I mean, he could have done something similar to Evansdale, right? They're similar. He was working in Chicago. So what? Maybe there's an unsolved murder between Delphi and South Chicago that nobody's talking about. Maybe they don't even know about it. Maybe it's a prostitute. But the fact that he doesn't have a prior record, it's not shocking. We cover hundreds and hundreds of cases on this channel, and we see it all the time. I don't know, Corn. They just swept it under the rug and made up this whole lost tip stuff. All right, guys. Charlotte, Michelle, Corn Pop, Goat Dog, Jari, GP. Who else are we missing? Big Fish. All right, all of you. Thanks for hanging out for this little impromptu Delphi, Abby and Libby case live stream. And replay crew, you know what to do. Holla at your boy. Peace, guys.